It's Angie Rupert, founder of Rupert Law Group. We handle exclusively E2 and E1 visas. So no matter what treaty country you're from or what state you want to live in, we can help. And today we have our very special guest, Kelly Bagla. She is a corporate attorney. In fact, the queen of business law. Correct, Kelly?
Absolutely, yes? Angie. Registered trademark, may I add?
Oh my goodness, TM, circle TM. So Kelly is also in California with me, but I know helps people all over the country and all over the world, in fact, because we've worked together on many international entrepreneur cases. She's been practicing for 19 years. She has all types of expertise in the world of U.S. corporate law. And so we're going to be speaking with her today. Thanks for joining us, Kelly.
It's such a pleasure. Anytime I'm on the show with you, Angie, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. We're really excited to have you because we're going to talk about some things today that I get all the time as far as questions, and I'm sure you do as well. So I guess let's start with a little bit of background about you. So I know that you do corporate law, obviously. You help lots of people in the U.S., which is amazing, but also international clients as well, right?
Absolutely. Yes, Angie. So I was 5 years old when I knew I wanted to be an attorney. I know we don't have to go way back there, but I was 5 years old. So needless to say, I absolutely love practicing law. It's my passion, and the more entrepreneurs I can help, the better. I'm also an entrepreneur, Angie, as well. When I started my legal career, I was very fortunate to work for the largest international law firm in the world, Baker McKenzie. And I really got to learn from some of these brilliant minds, not just domestically here in the US, but also internationally as well. So I've worked on international transactions. Absolutely wonderful stuff. When I decided to go out on my own, that's when I said, well, absolutely, I can help international clients operate in the USA. And what's really unique about my position is that I'm not just an attorney, but I'm also an entrepreneur 4 times over. On top of that, Angie, I'm just like your clients. I'm a foreigner. So if anybody knows how to set up a business in America, become successful at it, protect it as you're growing, I'm putting my hand up for that one.
Yeah, I thought I heard a little something in your voice, but I wasn't sure.
Born and raised in England.
Yes. So that's amazing. And you and I, as mentioned, have worked with many clients together. Typically, how we do it is someone will contact me. I want an E2. And then they'll say, but I don't know if I should pick an LLC or a C Corp, or somebody's telling me I should get an S Corp. And then I don't know how to open a bank account and I say, oh, that's amazing. Why don't you call Kelly? Talk to her about all that because we do immigration. So yes, all of that is needed, but Kelly's your gal. Talk to her about it. But let's talk a little bit about that because I assume once you get those calls, they kind of start at the beginning. So let's begin at the beginning. If you were going to talk to someone, let's say who's from the UK, who wants to start their own business in the US, get an E2 visa, from an immigration perspective, LLC, C Corp, they all work the same. It's fine. But from a corporate law perspective, what would you recommend, or what would you have them consider before you recommend LLC or C Corp?
So just like yourself, Angie, you are an expert in E2, E1 visas. That's what you do. Immigration, you live and breathe immigration. You stay in your lane. I do exactly the same thing. I'm a corporate attorney. I'm a business formation and asset protection law firm. And that's exactly what we do. What we do, we do that fantastically. We don't touch any other aspect of law. Now, when it comes to US law, it's very different from other majority of the countries, because here in the US, we have 50 states. And guess what? Each state has its own laws. So literally, if you're going to be a lawyer in the US, pick a state and stick to it. Otherwise, you have to know all 50 laws for the 50 states. Now, with countries, foreign countries, usually they only have the one law that pertains to the entire country. So for the US, if a foreigner meaning you are not a US resident, you are not a US citizen, you are considered a foreigner for these purposes, that's how we're defining it, they only have two choices when they want to start operations in the USA. And when I mention starting operations, I'm usually talking about the formation of the business, and that's usually the number one step that anyone would have to take. The two options that they have is, one is a limited liability company, also known as an LLC. The other option is a regular C corporation. The difference between those is legal and logistic, but both serve exactly the same purpose that allows foreigners to own a business in the United States. Now, you mentioned an S corporation. And an S corporation and a C corporation, from a legal standpoint, they provide exactly the same legal protection. However, an S corporation is based on the IRS sub S chapter, and that only pertains to US citizens. In fact, it doesn't even pertain to residents that have green cards that live in America. Even those, again, their options are an LLC or a C corporation until they become of citizen status. So the S Corp is completely out of the question. The only two available, LLC or regular corporation.
Great, because that's a question that I get a lot. I get that a lot later too. So if somebody establishes a C Corp, let's say, and then gets the E2, gets 2 years down the road, then the accountant starts going, well, you have a business partner, maybe you could do an S Corp. There's like a whole kind of second story there. But I say, talk to Kelly about it. I don't know. Talk to Kelly. But let me ask you this. Another thing that I get a lot, I'm sure you do as well. So there's always the big question, well, should I get a C Corp in Delaware? Wyoming's another hot one right now. But I really don't want to operate there. I want to operate in Texas. I want to operate in Florida, but I want to have a Delaware corporation. What do you say to people about that? I mean, I know it's a very vague question, but what are the advantages, and is it worth it for kind of these smaller businesses? I don't know.
If the foreigner does not have one state that they want to set up operations in, then I would usually advise the best state to form a business in is actually Delaware. So we have a handful, Angie, that are business-friendly states. Delaware, Wyoming, Nevada, even Florida and Texas, actually. So those are really great states to form a business in. Why? Because they will automatically side with the business rather than employees or third parties trying to sue. So we have solid books, solid laws on the books in those states. If the foreigner has a state and they want to operate in that state, couple of things I'll ask them. One is, what's the risk involved, right? Who are you selling your services and or products to? And also, are you going to have any other investors come in to invest in your company at any stage? 99% of the time, all the successful businesses in America, they are all incorporated in Delaware. They want Delaware law to apply when, not if, when they get sued. So really the question is, where do you want to get sued? Definitely not in California. California is not a business-friendly state. It would be Delaware, Nevada, Wyoming, or the other two states. Now, if they know exactly that they're going to say, I want to set up operations in Texas, then there's no need to go to Delaware and then file in Texas as a foreign corp because you're registered in Delaware. So it is a longer conversation. There are other factors that come into play, but majority of the time, it just makes sense to form an entity where the foreigner is going to set up operations.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's always one of those things. And certainly I don't advise on this at all, but people are like, well, what's the difference between an LLC? What's the difference between a C Corp? And it is mostly legal, logistics, tax purposes, things like that. But yes, as mentioned, from an immigration perspective, doesn't matter at all. It's all the same. Here's switching gears a little bit, but still within that realm of kind of corporate law and just setting up the business, right? So the EIN number. How would you kind of describe that, and why is an EIN number necessary?
Okay, so in America, everyone that is a US citizen and or a legal resident of America, we are all given a number, and that's how we are identified. And our number is usually defined as a social security number. Same thing in the UK, Angie. We have a national security number that they're given. So this number really identifies you as an individual when it comes to business and definitely taxes.
Taxation.
That's where exactly, because a registered entity such as a LLC or a corporation, and I'd love to touch upon the differences in a second, but because they are considered separate entities that can sue, be sued, enter into contracts, have its own bank account, because they are considered separate under law, they must have their own identifying number, which is the EIN number, which actually is short for Employer Identification Number.
Yes, yes. So an EIN number is not for an individual person. An EIN number is for an LLC or a C Corp.
That is correct, yes.
Yes. And so I know the EIN number is somewhat, I would say somewhat form-based, getting an EIN number. However, and maybe you have seen this as well, a lot of people say, oh, I see it, it's online, it's like no big deal, and I'll just do it. It never works out correctly, and I don't know why that is. Maybe because there's a few weird questions on it. I don't know. But I always recommend that someone just talk to you about getting the EIN number. For some reason, when you do it, it comes much faster and it's just a lot simpler. People doing it on their own, not to say you can't do it, but it never works out. It seems like it takes way, way longer and never seems to be worth it. But obviously you filled out many applications for EIN numbers. Is it a little tricky, or do they ask kind of crazy questions on it? I don't know what the issue is, but it always takes people a lot longer than it takes you for sure.
Absolutely, it does. First of all, the government is not keeping up with the times as far as technology goes. Yes. Who has a fax machine, Angie? I literally had to go out, and I'm sure you did too, go out and actually buy a fax machine and set it up, right? Nobody uses fax machines. However, the government uses fax machines.
Yes.
That's one thing. The second thing is that the person faxing the form over must stand there notifying an agent on the other end saying, I'm ready to fax this in through. Can you make sure that you receive it? When was the last time you actually got the IRS on the phone, Angie?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's funny that you mentioned the fax thing. So just for people who don't know, who have never done an EIN, that is literally how you said this. It is not a scanned PDF that you email like the rest of humanity. You do not just fill out something and hit submit. You fax it to them.
Exactly.
Why? Nobody knows.
And then the IRS is very, very notorious for misplacing or not receiving. Yes. Keep in mind, you're faxing this into this big, massive department. Don't know how many people are working there. So it can absolutely take time. And that's the laborious way to go. In fact, Angie, why we are able to provide EINs very, very quickly. So we're registered with the IRS as an agent. So I'm able to use social security numbers, and I'm also able to use numbers that can obtain an EIN for a company.
That seems to be the trick too. Some people mention that to me, well, I don't have a social, whatever. So I know you can do it, but yes, it takes a lot longer.
Yes. People
call me all the time. They said that they lost it or they never got it. And I sent it 6 weeks ago and now I got to start all over. I mean, that's very common. This is not one person.
Exactly. And that's 6 weeks out of your life.
And 6 weeks that you're not in the US making money, right?
Exactly.
That's right. This is on the immigration side, the first step, because if you don't have the EIN number, the business cannot get the bank account. So we just sit and we wait and we wait and we wait. And it's really a kind of a loss for your business, because if we were able to get that, 4 weeks ago, we'd already be on to step number 2, 3, 4. and a lot further down the road immigration wise. And then you can come here and make money and do what you need to do. So it's kind of that first step, and you really don't want to start. I mean, at least the experience that I've had with clients is you don't want to start your kind of adventure in the US in that way where you're just sitting around and waiting and it's fax machines and then they say we don't have it, and it's just get it done. Just have Kelly do it and just be done.
Exactly. I mean, if US citizens don't like dealing with the IRS, I'm sure the foreigners are going to detest it. So there you go.
Yes. And there's a process, right? I mean, it's not just, there's a way to get it done faster, and they don't know, and they shouldn't know. They don't need to worry about that stuff. That's what you're here for.
Exactly.
So EIN number, that's a very important key. Another important key for immigration purposes is getting a company bank account for, a US bank account for the company. Obviously the EIN number is first, but you can also help people open US bank accounts, right?
Absolutely. So if we do have a client that wants to set up operations in New York or in Texas, that doesn't mean that I have to travel to a bank located in New York or Texas. Absolutely not. I have relationship with banks that are accessible internationally. So we don't just pick a US bank that's indigenous to the US only.
Right.
And as their legal representative and as a secretary, as an officer on their corporation, because I would need at least that level of authority to talk to the IRS, to talk to the banks, to talk to whomever on behalf of the client. So the client really gives us the authority, if you will, to be that agent, boots on the ground for them. So I literally, Angie, go into the bank with all of the documents for the business, plus the EIN number, and we go open the bank account. Then we give online access to our clients so they can manage the funds however they want. They can change the passwords however they want. But as far as US purposes, if they need anything pertaining to checks, pertaining to my money stuck in this account, I need to transfer it. That's where we really, really come in. And that's pretty much really invaluable, that service is.
It really is, because opening that bank account is kind of part of that ownership piece for us. That's the first step in this whole thing. And if we're waiting around on the EIN, everything else is just pending. And if we're waiting on the bank account, everything else is pending. Because the second step for us is source of funds, which says, hey, how are you going to get this money? So there are a few things they can do before they move it to the US, but really, you get the documents, you get the bank account, you move the money to the US. That's kind of the very beginning of the E2 process. So sometimes people say, oh, when I'm there, I can open it. Yeah, you can. But, oh, you're not going to be here till October? Oh, okay. I mean, that's not the end of the world. But do you want to wait from now until 12 weeks from now to kind of finish step one of this process? Or do you want to have everything ready so when you come in October, the money's there, you know exactly what you're spending, and you'll be able to move forward instead of like, oh, once I'm there, I can finish step one, then we'll start talking about the rest of the application, right? So it's really, time is really of the essence. And that's where you can really help out, is getting it done even before they get to the US for a visit or to set anything else up. That stuff could be waiting for them when they get there.
Absolutely. And plus, they absolutely need legal, competent legal counsel when they actually come over here. Like I said, each state is very, very different, and you want to make sure that you're set up for success for day one. And especially if someone's helping you from day one, set up your corporation, helping you manage the corporation, make sure that your assets are protected. And it's difficult trying to figure out which attorney is going to be right for you. I have had so many clients over the past several months, Angie, calling the office saying, oh, we want to leave so-and-so and we're looking for a relationship. We're looking for someone that will listen to us. And as a foreigner, you definitely want to go with an attorney that actually is going to have time for you and explain the laws and what's going to be more beneficial for people that are trying to do business over here.
100%. And we operate the same way. That's why you and I know each other, because we frequently speak to each other. Because like you don't deal with immigration. I don't deal with corporations. I'm not going to advise people on stuff that I only kind of know because Kelly told me this once. So I'll just repeat.
Right.
I don't do that. But what we do, you and I both do, is, oh, you need someone that can help with this. Here's this person I've worked with before. They're great. They're going to walk you through it. So really having that, I have found for my clients, and I'm sure yours as well, especially international clients in particular, but all clients, that being a resource for them, not only knowing, okay, we know this area of law, we can give you all the information about that, but hey, you're going to need this. I don't do it, but here is the person that does do it. And so giving them information about, kind of a one-stop shop. So it's like, if I don't do it, here's the person that does. That really seems to help, especially the international investors, business owners, because they're not here. They haven't lived here their whole lives. They don't know all of these different people. And I think you and I both kind of share in that philosophy, where it's like we kind of just help everybody all together.
Absolutely, Angie. And another professional that the foreigners interested in coming over here really, really need to surround themselves. You, number one, business attorney, number two. I'm putting my hand up for that.
Yeah.
And number three, a really great CPA, a CPA that understands international tax. Let me preface that, not any CPA. And I've surrounded myself with professionals that I refer. I actually use them myself. So we really do make sure that we pick the best and bring those to the table because they become part of our team. I'm a reflection of you. You're a reflection of me, Angie. If I'm referring someone to you, I know without a shadow of a doubt, you're going to walk them through the entire process. And in fact, I have seen success stories where your clients just love you because you've given them the golden ticket, right? You've given them a golden ticket. You could be Willy Wonka. But
yes.
Right?
Thankfully, not one of the Oompa Loompas. Yes.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. But what you do, Angie, seriously, and I really do want to bring attention to that because you love what you do and you obviously pride yourself in helping people come over here. But the magnitude of that, Angie, you're changing someone's life, entire life for the better, right? So that comes along with what you do too.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. That's really nice. And it really is. The only reason we're able to do it is because we do have partners, referrals, other resources for people too. Because just doing the E2 alone without other people help, it's not going to really. It may work at the very, very beginning. Like you may get the E2, but then it's going to just all,
right.
For sure. So so thanks for saying that, but same, right? I mean, and again, we've worked with many clients together, and so far, to my knowledge, they've all gotten the E2s, gotten over here, run their businesses, and use us again in the future for either questions, other referrals, that type of thing. So I think that speaks to both of us that we kind of have the same philosophy and that, we work well together in that way. I want to, so we kind of got a little bit out of order, but I do want to go back and just touch on something that we both mentioned, but I would love an explanation as far as the LLC versus C Corp of like, why would I just do an LLC? Why would I do a C Corp? What are the differences between the two? And I know there are many, but kind of from a just general, few bullet points kind of discussion.
Absolutely, Angie. Back in the 80s, very early 80s, when LLCs were first introduced as a option to start a business, LLCs were only created to hold real property. They were not created to be an active business. So as an LLC, the business owner is paying 15 to 16% in self-employment tax right off the top. That does not you don't get a tax deduction for that. You're just giving it away. 16% of your income, just giving it away. That's an LLC. Now, with a corporation is used for a business that is an active business, a business that is going to have employees, a business that's going to have products and or services, a business that's going to enter into contracts with vendors and other professionals. The major difference is the liability. So with an LLC, you become a manager of an LLC, and you are a member meaning an owner of an LLC. Most of the time what I see is LLCs are member managed. So basically the owner is listed as the one that's doing business as an officer. Well, when you are a corporation, you have several layers of titles. You have a shareholder title, director title, you have a CEO, president, secretary, treasurer, you name it. That's layer after layer of legal protection. If you're an LLC and you wrong me, I'm going to sue you, the member, the owner, right, personally, and there goes your personal assets. If I'm a corporation, or if you're a corporation and I'm going to sue you now, I can only really sue you as the company itself. But if you are a corporate officer, which you are, and you didn't fulfill your duties, I can sue you as a corporate officer, not an owner of the corporation. Huge difference there too, and especially if the clients have a business in their current country and they want to continue running that business from there, you never ever want to make sure that if something goes wrong in the US, those legal arms, they don't want to be reaching over cross country to your company headquartered in your country, because that is absolutely possible, especially with LLCs.
So it is kind of a legal, it's more of a legal consideration than a practical consideration, because practically you could do it the same.
Correct.
Right? It's going to be more on the taxation, liability, that type of thing. So again, that sounds like part of that initial conversation you would have with the person, like, hey, how many employees do you think you're going to have? Where do you kind of see this business going? And in the case of E2s, they're always going to have employees. Some will have 4 or 5, some may have 15, 20, 25, right? And that could be a consideration. What do you think your revenues are going to be? Some may say, $350,000 or something, nothing to sneeze at, but that's much different than probably 25 to 30 million. That now there's a lot going on, right? So it's, right, I assume that that's kind of part of the goals in that initial conversation.
Absolutely, Angie. And in fact, I have written a book exactly on this topic: how to do business in the United States. Fancy that. I am going to send you a copy, Angie. So feel free to use it as a resource. It gets down to brass taxes. It tells you exactly why not an LLC, why a corporation. So maybe, Angie, this could be the first resource you send out to your potential clients, right? It gives you credibility, and it tells them exactly how to help them achieve their American dream.
Amazing, Kelly. Thanks so much. So yes, please do. Where can I buy that book if I want to buy it?
To tell you the truth, because I'm an author 5 times over, but this particular book in itself is just an ebook. All you have to do is go to the website, put in your email address, and a copy is instantly downloaded to you. Yep, totally free.
Better. Even better. So fantastic. Thanks so much, Kelly. It was great to speak with you today, as always.
Likewise.
And thanks everyone for watching. So obviously our contact information will be after the video as usual. If you're interested in an E1 or an E2 visa, please reach out, and we'll also put Kelly's information. So if you're already in the United States operating the business, or if you have some initial questions about starting a corporation or an LLC or EINs, bank accounts, all of that, we'll put Kelly's information after it too. So we both hope to hear from you. Thanks so much.